I wanted to talk about you started your foundation and you chose education, etc. What was the structure you had to put in place? Just tell us today how many schools you have.
So I built my one school in Las Vegas, and
Which year was that, your first
it
one?
opened in year 2000. Took me a few years to build. And I had 1,200 kids in the school, and I had over 3,000 on the waiting list. So given my tortured perfectionism of a childhood and background of being measured in front of the world against somebody else, I saw that as being twice the failure it was the success. So I needed to figure out a way to expand, to shorten the lines. And I was actually pretty lucky that I was an 8th grade dropout, because I wasn't an educator, I wasn't an operator, but I was facilitating this dream by stealing all the best practices across the country with the best charter school operators, the top 15%, because they overachieve their district peers. The rest don't, for many, many reasons. And so I thought to myself, I facilitated this dream. I'm taking things that are already being done. Maybe there's a way for me to facilitate their growth, right? Because what I recognized was, you see, a charter school in America can't access public dollars to build their facility.
Maybe you want to explain a little bit about what a charter school
Yeah,
is.
yeah. So a charter school is a private-public partnership, right? So you could go open a school up. You go get a charter from the state. They give you basically the permit, the license to be a charter operator, but they don't give you the money to build your school. So you have to incubate in church basements or boys and girls clubs. And if a child goes to your school, the money allocated to the child follows the child to your school. So your way of educating is to get a lot of kids as quickly as possible, but you're in temporary spaces.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get a lot of kids in the temporary spaces, because every time you expand, you have to move and you lose kids, right? So it's a kind of a turning over of this activity. So I was saying, well, wait a second. If the issue for the best-in-class charter schools operators isn't the software, it's not the teachers, right? Teachers don't get into teaching for fame or fortune. They get in because they want a learning-friendly environment to impact the child's life and to teach them. If it's not the children who need a quality education, because we're failing at that, it's certainly not parents that don't want that for their children. The issue for a charter school operator is the facility themselves, right? Because they have to incubate and grow over time. So if you have 50 kids in a class and that state gives $10,000 per child, that's $500,000 to educate these kids in a free space. Then you have 100 kids and the metrics start growing, but now you need space. Now you go lease a space or you have to build a space, and you need a lot of philanthropic dollars to do it. So what I said we should do is put together, not wait for government, not ever think that philanthropy can scale. As important as it is to give, giving ends when people run out of money, right? Giving ends when the people giving you money choose to give it somewhere else, right? So, but one thing we can still do is innovate, right? We can still innovate, the private sector. And it was my belief that if you could bring a private sector solution to a real daunting societal issue, then you not only have scalability and sustainability, as you mentioned with Ravi's water, the villages, that the first one is still operational, but maybe there's even opportunity where you can then continue it in a real exponential way. So I put together a real estate infrastructure fund that went to a private sector business or investor and said, don't give me your money, invest it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the best-in-class operator. I'm going to see where they want to expand, because they know where the need exists. I'm going to build their school on day one. I'm going to focus on construction so they can focus on
software
instruction, right? So on day one, I build the school. Let's call it 800 children. And let's call it a beautiful school, environmentally friendly, beautiful school. 800 kids, 10,000 per child, that's $8 million of revenue. Now, instead of playing landlord in their life and saying, you live in my building, it's like, no, we let you incubate, we let you stabilize, and then we go through the Texas and bond market. and we refinance for you out and give you a purchase power to buy back the school for a price that satisfies the like-minded investor that I brought in 2 years earlier, the person that says, I'm not looking for huge returns, but I do want to see social change. So as a result, I like what you're doing. It's the right thing, and maybe they get CR tax credits, or maybe they get work in the community. So now all of a sudden we start building these schools, and then they start owning them. So then we're out of the school business, but I'm providing the facility. So with that model, in the last 10 years, deployed about $1.3 billion, and have built 130 schools across the country in the most challenged areas for the kids that are most neglected. So when you talk about how not just people coming together can change things, when you take industries and you take stakeholders,
Yeah.
and you bring them together and everybody sits at the table for a solution, the change is powerful.